Hi, I'm the Brewmaster. Welcome to the Blind Eternity's Tavern. You know, sometimes when you sit down to play a game of Commander, it doesn't matter how much conversation happens before the game starts, it just feels like you're not playing on the same power level. Today I want to talk about a deck that helps even the odds a bit, brings everyone to the same level. Today, we're talking mono-red Fun Police. So pull up a chair, have a seat at the table, and whether you're a button mash hack and slash controller bash, or a meeple moving mastermind of maps, mats, and minis, if you ruffle at the awful ruffle shuffle scuffle, or if you're a click clack pick attack number ball luck sack, we're all here for the same reason. I'm Jake, let's talk games. You know, I think the term Fun Police gets a bad rap. Even just saying it, I'm pretty sure you got an image in your head of some white-blue prison control deck or a mono-blue deck packed with counterspells. When you fall asleep and have nightmares of Grand Augustin Augustus IV, or Baral, Chief of Compliance, stopping every single play you want to make, making the game feel miserable and slow. But that's not what I'm talking about when I say Fun Police, because in my mind, what a Fun Police deck should do is make sure that all decks feel like they can have a similar amount of fun. And that amount of fun should be more than 0. See, to make a fun deck, I think it needs to be interesting and have multiple paths that it can take, while still trying to win the game. Just slowing down the game for slowing down the game's sake is a bad strategy, and it's boring to play against. Games should be quick. They should end in a way that make you want to shuffle up and play again. So what does a good Fun Police deck look like? I think that it should have multiple pieces that punish decks that are trying to do broken things. Make it hard to combo off. Make it difficult to make infinite mana. And maybe be able to stop somebody in their tracks when they go for the win. Because having those roadblocks makes the game more interesting. But putting roadblocks in play that lower power decks simply can't get over is no fun. The deck that we're going to be talking about today is mono red. And I call it a Fun Police deck because it enforces fun. Mandatory fun. Everybody gets to have fun. Everybody has to have fun. And the commander that we are using for this fun deck is Sulfum, Mayhem Dominus. It makes the games quick, simple, fun. So let's walk through some of the things that we've included here that make the deck just so fun to play with and play against. So let's walk through some of the core components of the deck. And I think with any commander deck, you definitely want to start with the commander and with the specific effects that you are trying to build out in the rest of the deck. We're not going to talk about every card because I want to keep this fairly brief, but I want to give you a good picture of what the deck is trying to accomplish. Now remember what I said before, we are trying to make this a Fun Police deck. So our whole goal is to make the game feel fair and put everyone on the same level. To that end, our commander is Sulfum, Mayhem Dominus. Now Sulfum is a 4-mana creature, so we're getting Sulfum down on turn 3 to 4 depending on what we drew. Sol Ring gets us there on turn 2, but that almost never happens. And then its first ability is that any non-combat damage that we deal is doubled. So we have a strong focus on dealing damage outside of turning sideways with creatures. And the second ability makes Sulfum indestructible. So typically that's going to keep Sulfum alive from our own actions because, again, we're trying to make the game fair. So starting off, let's talk about how we even the playing field, how we keep certain decks in check. And I have a variety of different cards specifically designed to shut down powerful decks. And the first one we're going to show is Blood Moon, because red decks are super fun to play, and with a Blood Moon, everybody's playing a red deck. All those fancy non-basic lands that allow you to get way ahead of your opponents, City of Traitors looks a whole lot worse with a Blood Moon in play. Then we have Harsh Mentor to shut down any repeated activations or any issues that we might run into with decks trying to go infinite. It also just removes Nadu from play completely. Go ahead and activate Shuko 10 times in one turn. It's fun. It's fun for everybody. Then we have Pyrostatic Pillar, which punishes people for playing low mana cost spells. So people that are trying to loop things or go infinite with Sensei's Divining Top, this makes it a lot harder to do. Finally, we have Ancient Runes, which punish people for using treasure tokens or fast mana, especially if they're doing it early on in the game before other people even have artifacts in play. And this damage adds up, especially with Sulfum, because now you're taking 2 damage for every artifact you control every turn. So once those broken strategies are under control, how do we keep the game fair? And I think the goal of the deck is to encourage other people to make big plays, because that's fun and that's interesting. And so the way that we encourage people to make big plays is we allow people to do big damage. And we have a variety of different cards that allow our opponents to do more things. The first two, Furnace of Wrath and Gratuitous Violence, doubles the damage output of a lot of our opponent's strategies. That can backfire at us, but fortunately we have a fairly large indestructible blocker to plonk in the way of any big things coming at us. So typically these also work in our favor, despite being fun and fair for the whole table. Next up we have Witch Hunt, which bounces around the table and deals a fair amount of damage to everybody. Well, 4 damage to us, 8 damage to everyone else. But more importantly, Witch Hunt stops people from gaining life. No more life gain this game, so we don't have to worry about any sort of infinite life shenanigans that people might get up to. In addition to that, we have Descent into Avernus. Again, we're trying to give our opponents the opportunity to make big plays. And by giving them truckloads of treasure tokens, they can do just that. But the damage adds up pretty quickly from the Descent into Avernus, and it's doubled to our opponents. Games that last forever become unfun after a little bit. So keeping things quick is a key goal to what I was trying to do here. If we are being fair, and we are trying to shut down broken strategies, well, some people are going to find themselves with very little to do, and we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to participate as well. And so we are running a couple cards like Chain of Plasma. After we cast Chain of Plasma, they have a chance to cast their own. And as the Chain of Plasma goes around the table, it helps people feel involved and keeps the game interesting. And with a couple of good damage dealers, it can be a threat all its own. But if our opponent is able to pop off and do something really busted, we are running a Wild Ricochet to shut that down and give us the opportunity to have a little bit of their fun as well. Because while we want the game to be fun for our opponents, we're still trying to win. So now, while we're trying to keep the game fair, I think we have to talk about some of the fairest cards in all of Magic. The great equalizers. That is Pyroclasm and Friends. Cards that deal damage to all creatures in play. A Pyroclasm, a Volcanic Fallout, an Anger of the Gods, a Whip Flare, they all work really well here. Especially when our Sulfum is indestructible and able to sit like a lump on a log while everything burns around them. But we can go a little bit beyond that with cards like Spiteful Repercussion, Wildfire, Flame Rift, Earthquake, Inferno, Heartless Hitgetsu, and who could forget Kaboom to close out the game. All of these cards together make for a deck that plays a quick game of Magic, keeps everything fair, and allows everybody to do the things that they find fun. And if they get bored, we have a couple of cards that give them new toys to play with. Things like Chaotic Transformation and Wild Magic Surge so that they get new cards. Because who doesn't like getting new cards? So over the course of the game, we can keep people in check, give them new cards to play, even the playing field on and off the board, and hopefully enable people to branch out and play some new cards that they don't want to. This is my version of a fun police deck. I find it fun, it's chaotic, it's interesting, and it does unique things in that fun police archetype. So I'd encourage you to try to build something like this. Try some new strategies that deal damage in weird ways, and maybe give your opponents some fun along the way. It's been nice talking to you.